Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jessica Rorson, and I'm working with the IBDS program and with Sage Hill Community Futures. And we are here today with Jenny Glessman, and she works for Sage Hill and is doing this presentation because she gets these inquiries all the time from clients calling and wondering about registering their business and business names and the government platform as well. So before we get started, I'm just going to read a land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. So really great to have you, and it's a small group today, and if you would like to, you can, come off mute or just type in the chat, your name or what we have your name or where your business name or what you're kind of about today. So you go ahead, Jenny.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Glessman, and I, like Jessica said, I'm with the Sage Hill Community Futures Office. I'm going to today, I think, try to answer one of the #1 questions that we get in our office is about the ISC, the Information Services Corporation, and business names, and why should I register? And I don't know, both ladies, if you want to take a second and just tell me who you are and a little bit about if you've got a business or if you've got started, maybe that way we'll start with Amanda. I see you turned your camera on. It's nice to see faces.
Hi. I'm Amanda Bennett. I'm a licensed optician, and I am starting a business called Ageless Optics.
Great. And where are you located?
In the Yorkton area.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll go to Lindsay.
So there, hello.
Hi.
Okay. I'm in Rostern, and I am currently working on taking the steps towards starting my own business in bookkeeping and immigration supports.
Perfect. Glad to have you both here. So anyway, I'm usually on the end where Jessica is, letting everybody in and answering the questions. So bear with me. I'm going to try to share my screen a little bit and do a few different things to kind of try to answer these questions about business name and why you should have a business name and those types of things. So I'm going to start. We'll see if hopefully everybody can see my screen. So what we're going to go over today is, why do small business owners need to know about the ISC, or which is called the Information Services Corporation? A business name. Do you need to register your business name? And then how to choose your business name? And then before you go, there's some homework that needs to be done before you register, like having your name picked, the type of business, and I'll go through all of this stuff. NAIC codes, because it's one of the questions and everybody always asks about. Having your address and your email address ready for your business. And then we're actually going to go onto the website and navigate through, and I'll show you how to open an account on the ISC website, and then how to reserve your business name, how to register your business name, and then a little bit about the renewal process, because we have so many business owners, especially when they come here to Sage Hill to maybe get a loan. They'll find out that their business name has expired. And so then there's a whole process behind that. So that's a little bit of a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. Anytime throughout, please feel free to stop me, because sometimes I get talking and don't know when to stop. So make sure you let me know if you have any questions as we go. So I'm going to stop there. So the first thing we were going to talk about is ISC. It's basically a warehouse or a website where they keep all the information for business owners around business name, incorporating. There's also about personal property registry. It does a whole bunch of things, but its main thing is to house all this information in one spot. And why business owners need to know about it is basically it's the place to reserve your business name. First, you have to reserve it, then register it. It is also where you'll get your business number. And a lot of things as you go along, you'll be asked about a business number. And it's also the place where you renew your business name. So So that's a little bit around that. But before we get into the actual web or onto the website, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to change my screens here, and I'm going to go to a handout that we've got. And we can share this with everybody after. Sorry, I should have had it at the top before I started. Your business name. And why a business name? Lots of people say there's a couple of rules around a business name. If you only use your personal name, so in case of me is Jenny Glessman, and I don't add anything to it, you can use that without registering. But the minute you add something to it, so like a little bit background about me, my husband and I own the lumber yard here in town, and I also have a flower shop, or I have a greenhouse that I have. So if I was going to do my greenhouse and just say Jenny Glessman, don't add anything to it, I can operate, I can have a business account under that name, I can do everything. But the minute I change it to Jenny Glessman's greenhouse, then I have to register it. And that's the one thing that people need to know. But there's more to a business name than just the name. It also is your brand. And we've had lots of workshops, and I know we have one coming up about brand. And the business name, if I say my name to you, Jenny Glessman, it doesn't tell you anything about what I do. But if I say Jenny's Greenhouse, now you know I've got a greenhouse. Or if I say Bruno Daycare, then you know it's a daycare. So it really puts a picture in people's minds. So there's some thought that needs to go into the business name before you actually register it. And I know we have lots of people that go and register, and then they're like, oh, but I changed it. My idea is different, or I'm doing something different. It is a process, and it costs money to change it. So this is a good place to start, is to start thinking about the brand. What image do you want to bring forward? When people say your business name, what picture do you want to come into your mind? So a little bit about the branding part of it is the image and, colors and those types of things. And like I said, I'm not a brand expert. So to attend one of our brand workshops is probably the better thing. But this, I can also, like I said, send this out after. But some things to think about. And this example talks about a daycare and, what people, they want a safe environment, caring. You start thinking about some of the points of your business, and then you come up with an image, caring. And then this one I like is I'm going to scroll through, but this gives you, what type of business are you in? What is the service? Some of the questions that you need to ask yourself before you actually pick your name. And I'm just going to go through this. I'm going to scroll down here. So for example, a daycare center wishes to be seen as is seen as caring, but they call themselves Dynamite Daycare, or else just old Child Care Center. Instead of a name like, I'll say this, Mother Goose Community Daycare Center, or Just Like Mom's Daycare Center. It forms a different picture in your mind. So those are just some of the things to think about as you're picking it. There's lots of other things to think about, words that search, and that's why we'll make sure everybody gets a hold of this document, because it's one of our modules that we use. So before you go to the ISC to register, just some things to think about around that name, and what are you wanting people to think of when they're looking at it? So that's basically this whole document. Like I said, it goes on and it asks you lots of things, ways to score, and it would help you come up with a name. Once you have your name picked and you've decided that's where you want to go, then the next step is some of the homework that needs to be done. So I'm just going to stop sharing from here. Is there any questions around the picking of the name? Okay, so then, okay, let's go. The next thing you need to think about is, and most businesses start, is if you're going to be a sole proprietor, a partnership, or you're going to incorporate. We in our office tend to tell people not to incorporate right away. Incorporation is more around if, tax brackets, legally. Sometimes, you know, it depending on the type of business, there might be some illegal things around it or insurance purposes that you might need to incorporate. There, we always tell somebody to talk to a lawyer. In our office, we're not lawyers, but you know, if you're thinking that incorporation, and the reason we kind of tell people to maybe not incorporate right away is it's very costly. You know, it can be up as between $200 to $2,500 to incorporate, and to do your taxes at the end of the year is way more money than doing a sole proprietor. Most people start out as you know, a small business would start out as a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor is usually only one person, and you can actually show the taxes right on your personal income tax return. So that is the first one of the questions, because when you go to start registering your business name, one of the first questions they ask you, are you a sole proprietor? Are you a partnership? And so there's different forms and there's a few different questions. Today, I'm going to talk around a lot around sole proprietorship, and those I'll use those as my examples. Because that's what most people start out as. Then the next question that they're going to ask you when you go on is around NAIC codes. And I'm going to show you my screen because it took me quite a while to get this kind of figured out what they were talking about. Can everybody see my screen? It says North American. I'm going to get rid of that. And I got a bunch of extra of that. Okay, perfect. So what this it stands for the North American Industry Classification System, or NAIT. And it is one of the questions when you go on to start reserving your name, they're going to ask you what industry you're in. It's basically what it is. It's a system that they use to put us in different codes or into different industries. So whether it be retail, or are you in the service industry, are you in the food industry? So you can go, this is a Government of Canada's website, and you can actually go here, and this is the kind of the general area. They've got it broke out into, you know, agriculture, mining, utilities, construction, you know, retail, you know, and you can go through and pick out professional services. And once you pick, and I'm going to pick retail because it will open up, and then it starts breaking those down, and it'll start giving you examples. And it gets, I don't want to say confusing, but within each code, there is more codes. And I find the easiest way that, say it's, I think, Lindsay, you said bookkeeping. So you could type in NAIC code bookkeeping, and it will actually give you some examples in the Google search that kind of starts to break it down so you can figure out which code to go into. So like, for instance, if we took food service and you click on it again, it'll break it down. And in the food service area, it actually starts breaking down into, like, it's got grocery stores, specialty, or liquor, beer. It'll start breaking it down into whether you've got, you serve alcohol or you don't serve alcohol. If you're fast food or you're just a full service restaurant. So it's not, it gets very particular, but when we go on to the ISC website, they actually have it all broke out, and it goes on for pages. So if you've done some homework before, it'll make that way easier to be able to see where you want to be. So that's part of your homework. If you've got your business name picked, how you want it spelt. I also always say, and I forgot that when we did that, is to maybe have a second choice. Because you'll see when I show you when we go in to start doing the reserve, it may come up and tell you that that name is already used. And if that happens, you will have to pick a second choice. So make sure you have it spelled how you want it. You know, if you're going to be a sole proprietor, or if you've got a partner, you'd be a partnership. And then having your NAIC code picked. And then the other thing to have is an address for your business. So if you're working from home, it'd be your home address, or if you're planning somewhere, to have that address, and an email address. Because when we get onto the ISC website, you'll see that they actually have a place in there where they want an email address, and I'll talk about it too. about when it comes to the renewal of your business name, to have that email address and a permanent address that you'll have all of your mail come to. So once you've got those things, you're ready to then to the next step, which is navigating the ISC. So I'm going to get rid of this one and I'm going to go home. Okay, so when you log on, and it's basically you type, if you type in isc.ca, it takes you to this website. And I know lots of people say, ooh, where do I go? And I'm trying to explain over the phone where to click. Basically, there's lots of information on here, but for business owners, the main place you're going to go is to corporations and to forms. And I know it doesn't make any sense when we say corporations, and I've just told you that you're probably going to pick to be a sole proprietor, but they've put all that business registration, or they're all into the same place. So just a quick overview of this site. Land titles, if you're ever wanting land titles, a quick search about land and property, you can go there. Personal property, as a small business owner, if you're ever going to maybe like buy a used car or buy some equipment from somebody, you can actually go on as a business and you can go on and do a search on the personal property. There is a small fee, but you can check to make sure that a title is clear, that a piece of property or a piece of equipment or a vehicle is clear, so that you don't buy something that's got a lien on it. So you can use the personal property for that. Survey plans, I've never used. The maps and photos is more your RMs and towns and things like that. But where we want to go is to the corporations branch. And this site is actually laid out, I'm going to say fairly nicely, but there is lots of tabs and a lot of clicking, but it does kind of gives you lots of direction as you go on. So the first thing, you're brand new to this, there is a paper trail. So if you're not computer comfortable, they now have just, as of March 12th, they have put forms on here that we can actually print off, you can fill out, and you can actually mail in, which is brand new. So I might just, I'm going to, maybe that's where I'll click first. So on the side, you'll see forms, and then it opens up to a whole window. And the very first one is business name registration. So when we click on that, it actually opens up and it starts explaining what we're actually doing, that there's two steps to registering your business name. First, you have to reserve the name. Then once they say, yes, you can use it, then you actually register the name. So you can actually, and I'm just going to click on this first form, which is the registration. So this is if you wanted, if you're a paper person, which lots of people are, you can actually print this form off, and it's actually a fillable form. So we can actually, you can click on here and do it. The first part is just their cover page. And the fee to do the reserving is $50. So if we scroll down, and there's a bunch of other things, lots of times I tell people print this off, fill it out, then go on and do your online version. Then you've got all the paper in front of you, you've got everything filled out. But so this, yeah, so this is where you tick sole proprietor, if you'd like English or French, the name. Now then, and I can always say, make sure you've checked your spelling, make sure if you're using a hyphen, or if you want some capitals and some smaller, like if you've got it spelt a certain way, make sure you've checked that all out. And when you put it in here, triple check it is all I can say, because how it comes back is how it is. So that's, this, and then it just basically asks you the questions. Something new, if you're an Indigenous entrepreneur, you actually can use your Indigenous language. You can use Cree, or you could actually spell it out in those languages, which is something brand new. So that's an option. Nature of your business. This is the NAIC code that I was talking about. And if you do the online version, which I'll show you in a bit, it actually gives you the different codes. But if you wanted to print this out and mail it in, you'd have to look up your code and put your NAIC code in there. And then this is just additional information. And then this is where you put in your name and your address, your phone number. email address of where you'd like information sent, and then you actually sign and answer, and you can send this in. So this is the registration or the reservation form. And there also is one for the registration. If you click on this, I won't go through this one all in detail because I'll show you the online. But yeah, the form, you can print this form off and fill it out. So we might come back to that one. So those are the form sides. So we'll go back up to the top here, back to corporations. So the first thing you want to do is create a login. You have to create an account on here. So if you click this big login button on the right-hand side, you actually can go in and say, you need an account, sign up. And it comes up with a form, and you basically put wherever there's a red star, you need to put your information in. So this is where you're going to create a username. And I always tell people, make sure you write these down. And I'm going to actually log in using my husband's business account. But so for instance, I used Bruno Lumber, all small lowercase letters. That's my login. Then you put in your first and last name, the email address that you'd like, and then you have to create a password. And it tells you upper, lower, all of that kind of stuff. Your phone number goes in. I think otherwise this is all pretty basic. The only one is this checkbox. This account will be used by a legal firm that doesn't already have an account. You don't check that because you're doing an individual. Yeah, individual is what you want to do. And then you just fill out, and then I have an existing ISC account. You would say, no, you don't tick that box. You say, I'm not a robot, and then you submit it. And it actually will come back, and it actually sends you a confirmation email to your email so that you can confirm, and then they'll make sure that you're a actual person. And then once you've got those, then you can go and actually log in. So I'm going to log in using, oops, if I can get in here. So this is what it looks like once you've created an account and you're in. Hopefully everybody can, I'm just going to make this a little bigger so everybody can see it. So this is what it looks like, and you can see it. It also acts like an email account. They send messages back within here. So you'll see when you're signing up, and we've found in our office that we tell most people to make sure that you get things sent in mail, because your business name is good for 3 years once you register. So if we registered today, it would expire 3 years from today. At the end of April would be when it would come due. And if you're like us, most people, you get busy and you forget about that. And if you maybe change an email address, or it goes in your spam by mistake. So that's why we always try to tell people to make sure there is a box, tick and ask for things to be mailed. Then you'll physically get a letter in the mail, and then you'll remember to renew your name. So once you get into this, the first step is, like I said, is reserving your name. So you go to the Files tab, and it opens up like this. And then in this case, we want to go to Business Names, and we want to go to Reserve Your Business Name. And I can actually today, I'm going to go right through the business reservation. I can show you all those screens. I can't show the registration screens because you have to be able to create those, but we're going to start. So what's the purpose? Is a Saskatchewan business name registration. Unless you're doing a partnership, you've got a partner, then you would be looking at one of these partnership options. But most of us are starting out with the Saskatchewan business name registration. And then what type? And that's where we were talking about sole proprietor, partnership, joint venture, or a syndicate. And like most of the stuff I know about is about sole proprietorship. So I'm going to pick that. And we go continue. And then we get this nice window. And right here is where you're going to put your business name. And this is where we want to make sure everything's spelt right. So for today, I've never done my greenhouse, so I'm going to pretend I'm doing it. So I'm going to type in, make sure it's all right. And then there's this check your name box. And I'm going to show you what happens. It actually comes up, it actually does a preliminary search for you. And it comes up and says, Jenny's greenhouse is currently available. Your requested name has passed the initial check. It doesn't mean though that there may be something down the road that might stop it in their next check, but initially I can go forward. And this is where I said sometimes to have your second name, because I'm going to do this. I'm going to type in my husband's business and I'm just going to show you what happens. It says similar, or it says this, the name you have requested has the following exact or a similar name match. The requested name may be rejected. So if you would get something like this, and it says that this business is operating, you're probably a 99.9% chance that that name is not going to go through. And the reason we say to check it is because it's going to cost you $50 each time. So if you put a name, if I sent in this name right now and it got rejected, I would have to pay my $50 and I would have to pay $50 again. So that's why we say to do this initial check. And, you know, usually, you might get something. I've seen one where I helped a client. They were buying a business that was open, had been open, and they were using a name, you know, and they had to get permission from the previous owner to use that name. And it wasn't a big deal. They were able to do that, and they were able to send that in as an attachment, and everything was fine. But you know, those are the types of things you want to check. So then once I'm going to go back. Now this is where it's talking about the nature of your business, and you'll see the search on the side. And this is where I was talking about your NAIC codes, and they start coming up, and you'll see, you know, there's all kinds of, you know, agriculture feed merchandise. This would be the code, and you just add it. Now I did some looking so that we could make this quicker today. And I know I need to go to, I think it's page 17. And on page 17, it says greenhouse, nursery, and floral agriculture products. And if I go add, and then close, you'll see that it's added it in there. And if you sell if you do 2 or 3 things, like I could have maybe added giftware in there, or I could have added hardware in, or, you know, if I sold something else, you can add 2 or 3 things in there. And then if there's any additional information, and which I don't have anything, you just go next. All the mandatories. Now, what did I miss? Oh, nature of my business. It didn't add it. Oh, what did I do? Let me do this quick again. $17 greenhouse. Oh, close. I don't think English name only. Maybe that's what. I'm missing something. Oh, I see what I did. You got to do check name. And I didn't do that the second time. There we go. And then it comes up to this screen. It says that I owe $50. And I go next. And you can pay with a credit card. And then it comes up with this so you can actually double check it. So it's a Saskatchewan business name registration, sole proprietor, what the name is that I wanted in English, what the nature of my business is. And now, because I'm using an you've registered and put your information in when you opened your account, it pre-filled all of this stuff, my name, my address, and all of my email address and all of that, and my phone number. That was all pre-filled from when I set up my account. And then I certify that this is right, and then I can submit it. Once you submit it, it's about, I've seen them come back in 2 days, 5 days, I usually say 2 to 5 business days. You will actually, now I'm going to clear this out because I don't want to do this actually. And I'm going to go back to the first screen, leave this. And I'm going to exit. Now I'm back to here. So once you've hit submit, that reserve will go in. They will check it over. And then the place to check is here under messages. This acts just like your email. And when you click in here, then your messages will come back and you will actually see a message come back in here, and it will say, and you open it up and it's actually a letter, and it will say, here is your reservation number, and there's a number in there. You need that number. Once you get that reservation back, you have 90 days to reserve, actually register your name. It holds it for 90 days. So if you're not quite ready or you're not sure, you've got those 90 days, and you've got that reservation number. And once you've got that, then if you're ready to go, you go back into here, into file again, and you go back into business name. But now we do this bottom part where it says register. Click here to register your sole proprietor partnership joint venture. And in here, you will actually click in and type in that reservation number. And this is where I can't go any further because without the reservation number, I can't actually show you the physical screens, but you will go in there, and once you put that in, it actually opens up a screen for you, and it'll have your name already reserved, how you've reserved it. And then it's just answering questions exactly like what we've seen. And then, and actually I'm going to exit out of here. And I'm going to just close this for the moment. I'm going to go back to this screen, and we'll go back to these forms. And I'm now going to go into that business name registration form, and we'll actually look at the registration form. This process is $60, just so that the whole process, if you do both steps, one is 50, the other one is 60. So here, this is what, if we're going to do it online, you'll click in your reservation number, and then you start answering the questions again. Sole proprietor, and then a physical address. So if you're working out of your home, it would be your home address, and then your business mailing address. So one might be street whatever, and the other might be a mailing box. And then if an email address is provided below, the business name renewal notice will be sent to this email address. If the email address field is left blank, the business name renewal notice will be sent by regular mail to the address on file. So this is the one where and that's why it says optional. We suggest to leave it blank so that you actually get a physical piece of paper in the mail. But that's each person's whatever you're comfortable with. If you prefer email and you're not going to change anything, that you can do that. Lindsay, did you have a question? You might have lost her. Okay, so then from there you go on to the next part, our business physical address. If there are more than 3 additional, so this would be if you're having, you might have more than one location, but you just need to fill this out once because they give you 3 locations. Most of us only have one place. And it gives you lots of really good explanations on here. Again, it's asking the sole proprietor. I'm not sure why it does that again. This is for each part. This is doing also if there was a partner. Here's a sole proprietor or a partner. So if you had another one, that's why it's listed twice. So you'd only have to fill it out once. Another partner one. and then your submission information. Date, who's sending this in, and a signature. And then you can actually send this in, but a payment needs to go. So you would need to mail it in, or you could, I think you can give a credit card with this one too, or you can do the online portal, and it'll ask you the same sort of questions. So those are some of that's the main steps. Our office is here to answer questions as you go along. But again, around the renewal, I'm just because we get a lot of questions around the renewal process. Before I go to the renewal, is there any questions on the reserving or the registering of your business name?
I don't think so, Jenny.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, wait, Kate has her hand up.
I was just gonna say, I think Kate has her hand up.
Hi, thanks for doing this because this is a very little known step in becoming a business owner. But I do have a question. A lot of times when I've attended entrepreneur workshops, they will mention registering ourselves provincially, but then also on a national register. So I don't know if that's something that's covered by ISC, or is that a completely different place and process?
Well, I know that, and we haven't done a lot with that one. I know lots of times when you get your business number, like, and that's the other side of this. Once you register your name, you'll actually get a 9-digit number, which becomes your business number. And there's a deal between the Saskatchewan government and the CRA, or the federal government, that you only have to register once. And once you get that business number, it's good for both programs. And that sometimes is what people are talking about, is about your business number. I do know that there is options when you look on here, if you're wanting to register, if you're working in Alberta, and that if they might have a little bit of a different process, and I'm not up on that part of the process, but I do know that this business 9-digit business number, and you'll get asked a lot when you register for your business number, that this number will, and I know on here, I had found it earlier. I'm just going to try to find it. It actually talked about the business number and the CRA. Now, I'd found it this morning. Just let me find that again, because that will explain some of the business. Because once you've got your 9-digit business number, you can now register for a GST number. You can, if you need to export, you can also, the first 9 digits stay the same, and it's the ending letters and numbers that change. So I'm not sure, Kate, if I answered your question, but I know this number is good. It's your business number. You can use it everywhere, but I do know if you're wanting to do business in Alberta, there is a little bit, and I can always look up and get you that information as well, because it's right here in US partner. And I have not done a whole bunch on this, so maybe the best thing is for me to do some checking and get back to you with that. Now.
And like when I registered my business, Jenny, it never gave me an option for a federal registry, but it did give me, like you said, the business number. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because it's a partnership that I was doing. I've done, another workshop I attended talked about a partnership that they've done with the CRA, trying to make it a more streamlined process that you only have to register once.
And then you can use that number for my account online.
Yes, you can. Yep. Yeah. And you'll find that lots of places where they're going to ask you for your business number. And that business number is and when you register, when you're all said and done and you click register, you'll actually print off a certificate that says, this is the date I registered my business, and it'll give you a date and that number. And when you go to the bank and that you want to open a business bank account, they may ask you for a copy of that, because that is the proof that you've registered your business. And so that's a good thing to print off when you finish your process, to make sure that you've got. Now I was just gonna quickly, I'll talk about, and I wanted to show that CRA stuff, and I'll just see if I can find it again. But first we'll talk about your business name is good for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, no, I'm not in the right place. I realize now. Just gonna go back here. Here we go. And we want to go to sole proprietor. Okay, so your business name is now good for 3 years. Must be, but you can change. If you change an email address, any of that stuff, you can log back into your site, and there's a place where you can go in and change that information. If you maybe start your business in one location and you move to another location, you're able to go on here and you can make those changes. So anyway, around the renewal, you'll get it. It says in here that you should get your letter. Renewals must are within 3 years. They may be filed up to 3 months before. So if your name expired on April 30th, you can, anytime 3 months before that, you can renew it. But if you do let it expire and say, oops, I forgot, they'll keep it for 90 days without giving it out to somebody else. If you go longer than the 90 days, you have to redo all the steps. You have to reserve your name, and then you have to register it again. And you have to pay the fees again, $50 and the $60. To renew your business name is $50. So that's a little bit about, and if you're not sure, they always have the directions on this website. If you get to here, it says log into your corporate registration, click file. It's very good. It gives you the step-by-steps directions on what to do. And even if you want to change an address or you want to change a name, it actually lets you go through in here. I've never had anybody change the name, but you know, addresses change or an email address changes. You can do all that kind of stuff just right from here. And this is where I was in corporate, and then in maintain or change your business information. So there's a whole category here under that. I'm just going to, now I wanted to find that business CRA. I'm going to just Google for 1 second. ISC CRA. Here it is. Here we go. Follows. I hope everybody can see this. So this is back around your business number. Your business number is the 9 digits number that the Canadian Revenue Agency will assign to a business. So this is what it will look like. When you register, you'll get a business number. So 9 digits, it will be SASC, and then it will be 001. And then say you need a GST number. Then the letters in front will change. GST, I think, is, oh, I don't have that. Each one of these have different. Payroll has, if you have employees, it will be, the 9 digits will stay the same. And I'm thinking it gave it here. It doesn't, just let me, I'll get those codes too. GST is RT. That's right. Someone help me out. Thank you. Oops. I didn't mean that. Hopefully everybody can see that. So this would become RT, and then you'd have 001. And the reason for 001 is if you had more than one company under this business number, you might have 001 would be for one, 002 would be for the other. So each time you want to add one of these accounts, you can actually add a once you have your business number, you can phone in and they will add a GST number over the phone. So it's the trick is once you get your business number, then you're able to add any of these things as you need. But most sole proprietors would only be adding a GST number or a payroll number. Unless you're doing some importing and exporting, then you would need a number for that. Corporate income tax would be more if you're incorporated. So that You know, it's basically the ISC. There's lots of, you know, windows on the side and lots of places to go. They do have some really good, if, you know, all of a sudden you're not sure where to go or what to do. There is also, I was just going to find this. If you go back to the main, this is the main screen, and then we're going to corporations. And then if we scroll down, register a business. And if you click on this one, it actually gives you really nice steps. Step 1 is choose your business type, which sole proprietor, partnership. Then it talks about reserve a name. And if you actually click on these, it opens up and gives you more. And then prepare to register your business, and then what to do after. So they've got some really nice explanations. And if you click on these, it actually opens up and it'll walk you through the different things you need to know to be able to do that process. I know, and they asked this question here too. I haven't seen it, but I know it does ask you as you're going through the registration process about provincial sales tax. So while you're registering for your name, so that's the second step, there is a question, do you want to register for PST at this time? We usually tell people to say no at that point, unless you know that you want to. There is actually a form on the PST website that you can actually fill out to do the PST. If you're comfortable and you want to do it on here, go ahead. The other question it's going to ask you is the workers' comp. If you'd like to take part in workers' comp, most sole proprietors, if you're just you yourself, you can pay in as a business owner. But we also suggest to say no at your business registration time and to actually go to the workers' comp site and actually to call them. The workers' compensation is very good to call in and say that you're a new business owner. They'll walk you through all the steps of signing up. But I do know they're trying to simplify it and make it easy so that you can do all of these things when you register. But I think lots of times we suggest when you're doing your business name, just to do your business name. Worry about that part, and then add your PST and your workers' comp separate after. Does anybody have any questions?
No, but that was really helpful, Jenny.
Okay. And like I said, our office is here. I do this lots of times because this is the #1 question. I don't know how many times people phone and ask that. I will go on a Zoom and help walk you through. I've done it with people where they actually log into their account and we do it via Zoom, just like this. You can be entering on your side and I can be just there to answer questions as we go. I am sorry that I couldn't show the registration side today, but it's just hard. Amanda, I see you have a question.
Hi, I do have a question. I set mine up as corporation and maybe that was a mistake, but that aside, I'm just looking at annual returns for corporation. And then it says $50 and it needs to be done once a year. Are you able to tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, when you incorporate, you're required, you don't actually register, you don't have to renew your business name, but you have to do an annual return. And actually I can show you because our business is actually incorporated.
Okay.
So you can actually now, just let me get back. I gotta get back to the right place. So I think I may have logged out. Okay, so this is actually our for Bruno Lumber. So we actually have to go in, and now this always takes me a second. And in here, when you come to this screen, it actually says annual, file an annual return or renewal. And I actually click in here and I have my entity number. And then you actually come up and I can actually go in here. I actually have an access code that was sent to me a long time ago. And you enter your access code, and then it actually goes in and it gives you your actual annual return. And then you can update. And in there, you have to update, make sure that you've got your directors and your president and all of that kind of stuff every year.
Okay,
So does that kind of help you?
that does. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and it too, there's a deadline on that. You only have so many days after the end of in a corporate, you have so many months after your year end that you have to file your corporate return.
Okay.
So that's what that part means.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Jenny, is that standard? Like, is there a director and all that within every corporation?
In a corporation is a lot more to set up. We usually tell people to use a lawyer, talk to their accountant, because when you're incorporated, we actually have to have bylaws. We actually have to have signing, like who has signing authority, things like that. So in the case of my husband and I, we bought a business and we bought the incorporated company. So then we actually are both shareholders in our corporation, and we have to actually have a notice to reader done. So our year end is different. It actually costs more money. But it is because of the way we're set up, because we actually bought the shares of the corporation. And then we have we each own different shares. It allows you to do some dividends and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah, it's set up a little bit different, but it does have some different rules around it. We don't renew our business name, but we pay $50 every year to file an annual return.
Right, but sorry, you had mentioned something about, it sounded like board positions.
Yes, we do. My husband is the president and I'm the secretary treasurer. And that's because we only have 2 shareholders. But you may take a corporation like Sage Hill, like we're a nonprofit, where we have to have 7 board members and 7 directors. So those directors would all be listed. We have companies that come here for money that they might have 4 or 5 shareholders. Somebody is one's president, one's a secretary treasurer, and then they might have directors. And then we do have some that are incorporated and they only have 1. So you'd be the president and chief everything, so there's different ways to set them up.
Oh, okay, interesting. Thank you.
So yeah, so if anybody's looking at the corporate side, I would definitely, we always strongly suggest talking to a lawyer so that there's more to setting it up. Sole proprietor is definitely the easier way to set things up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're first starting out and you don't know how busy you're going to be. But legally, sometimes the legalities, depending on the type of business and insurance purposes, then they may ask that you incorporate, because then the incorporated company becomes an entity. It's just like a person. And that sometimes around insurance types of things might be the better way to go. So that's, a little bit around the difference of it. So I hope I helped everybody navigate. It can be kind of a overwhelming when you click onto this site and you're not sure where to go. So hopefully I've directed, but like I said, we're here at Sage Hill to help. I can easily do Zoom calls to help people direct you to figure out where to go. But some of that homework to do first is really important of your business name and why you pick what you pick before you go on to here, because it's nice to have that homework done. Otherwise, you got this question staring at you and you're not sure what to answer. So some of that homework ahead of time will really help.
That's wonderful.
Okay, so it's